Very good. So thank you, everybody, for joining the meeting today. And we'll begin with Eileen Switzer, to Deputy Secretary for the Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection. Will give us some welcoming remarks, followed by then Secretary Hughes from Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation. Eileen, please.
All right, good morning. Thank you, Mark. As Mark mentioned, my name is Eileen Switzer. I'm the Deputy Secretary here for the Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection. And I want to thank you all for joining us this morning for the Wisconsin Agricultural Council webinar today. And also thank you for the work of the council. This council continues to be important in guiding the initiatives created through the Wisconsin Initiative for Agricultural Exports, WIAE. And thank you to the governor and legislature for their investment in this program so that we can get Wisconsin food, fiber, and fuel to international markets. The last few years have been productive for international trade, and we expect to have more details on 2024 full year export numbers in the coming months. With that, thank you for joining us this morning. We have a good lineup of agenda topics and discussion planned for today, and I will hand it back to you, Mark.
Great. And Secretary Hughes, if you'd like to share some remarks with us.
Great. Thank you, Mark. Good morning, everybody. I'm so glad to be here, and I want to echo Eileen's comments about your work and our appreciation for the hard work that we're doing to grow Wisconsin's agricultural exports. So as you know, WEDC and DATCAP have worked very closely together. Our global trade and investment team continues to work closely with DATCAP to further the objectives of the WIAE, and my teammate Aaron Zitzelberger is here with us today to continue that connection and make sure that WEDC and DATCAP are working very closely together, especially with our international market access grants and with participation in our global trade missions. We continue to utilize our export promotion resources to accelerate Wisconsin's world-class agricultural products and the export of those products. So we've been working really closely with WEDC and DATCAP on our trade missions. I had the opportunity in November to travel to Australia, and what was really exciting about that was we had DATCAP with us along with the dairy farmers of Wisconsin. And we really worked hard while we were in Australia to understand the export opportunities into the Australian market. The dairy farmers of Wisconsin was very focused on exploring the opportunities for specialty cheeses. And I had the chance to spend time with the dairy farmers of Wisconsin and of course with DATCAP's representative to be able to really understand those opportunities and to think even more deeply about how we can work together. Coming up, we have DATCAP scheduled to participate in our upcoming trade mission to Mexico. We're going to visit Guadalajara and Mexico City, and we'll have a DATCAP team member along with two companies that are focused on agricultural exports planning on participating. So we're excited about that trade mission coming up just in a few weeks. And then I'm very excited that in March, we will be traveling with, again, a representative of DATCAP and the dairy farmers of Wisconsin to China. We haven't been able to travel to China since before the pandemic. And so we're excited to be able to reopen those opportunities for our dairy farmers and make sure that we're exploring all opportunities into the huge market of China. And that will be at the end of March. So we are going to continue to work on our trade missions going forward and our planning for those trade missions for the fiscal year 26. And we will continue to work with the DATCAP team to focus that market lens on locations of mutual interest. I wanted to talk also quickly about the international market access grants and where we've teamed up with DATCAP on those. The FY24, the fiscal year 24 IMAG projects are concluded, and we're in the process of working with companies to get all of the reimbursement requests in. Those need to be in through the end of March. And once that's complete, we'll really be able to understand the utilization numbers and be able to provide that information to you. In addition, the FY25 IMAG pipeline, so what we're working on right now, has 7 WIAE applications in-house for review and consideration. It's a great number. We're excited about that. but we would not use up all of our funding, even if we exhaust all of those applications. So I'm going to lean into all of you to think about the opportunity to encourage other companies with export-related projects to submit applications as soon as possible. We want to get those into the system, into the pipeline, and working on those. The next round of applications for those grants opens on February 1st and will run through March 15th. We'll be doing an introductory webinar that will take place on January 27th. If you have any companies that are interested, and I'm going to put Aaron on the spot and see if it's possible for him to include a link or more information about that in the chat so that everybody can have easy access to that. If not, we'll follow up with an email providing that information. So again, I want to thank everybody for continuing to work to increase Wisconsin's agricultural exports. It's incredibly important work. And I'm so pleased to know that in the coming months, we're going to continue to work closely with DATCAP and the dairy farmers of Wisconsin to really work on our dairy exports. So thank you so much for the opportunity to see you today, and thank you for being here.
Great, thank you very much, Secretary Hughes, and absolutely. And then obviously we will be following up with what we send out to the WAXC as well. So we'll make sure to have a few different ways to get you that information that you talked about. So, and at this point here, we'll start the sharing of the presentation. Great. So hopefully everybody's seeing the screen with our logo and the Prairie Oaks office building, Prairie Oak, that's in front of there. So with that, we'll advance to slide 2. So we're going through, we've started the meeting, of course, and we have a speaker who will be joining us. And as oftentimes happens, sometimes folks have trouble getting online. So I think we have maybe a challenge with Dee Hale. I don't know if she's yet with us. Dee Hale is with the Department of USDA's Department of Agriculture, the Foreign Agricultural Service, in their USDA Export Credit Guarantee Program. And she'll be talking to us about, and it was one of those topics that we had brought up as something of interest by the council in order to provide some more information about that program. So I think what we might do as we're looking to find out if Dee's having some trouble connecting with us is to move on the agenda item down to the export highlights for quarter 3 year to date. So move to that, and then we can, once following that through, if Dee's able to join us, we'll do that. Otherwise, then we'll go to the review of the Tri-National Accord and then have Dee join us and do her presentation when we're able to have her with us online. So what I'll do is just jump down in the presentation to our, and this is year-to-date September of 2024. So the data that we have from, it comes out of the US Census trade data set. That data is available usually about 6 or so weeks after the end of whatever the month or the end of the quarter. So we'll have the 2024 year-end information by the March meeting for the Wisconsin Agricultural Export Advisory Council meeting. That's on March 5th. So to begin with here, and we normally go through this, just taking a look at what sort of the exports have been over a little over a 10-year period. So from 2013 to 2023, as you can see, we've had 3 of the highest years, and those are actually the 3 of the highest years on record, up to 2023, 3.87 billion. We're at 3.05 billion here. We were in September, and at the rate of run that we've seen on exports, running about $1 billion a year, then I think it's a good bet that we'll be close to, if not maybe a bit above.
Wow.
Oh, sorry, looks like we got an open mic here on somebody's line here. So as I was saying, I think it's reasonable to expect that we'll be close to, maybe not better than 2023. And as we look at that, our top 10 products are a little over 2/3 of the total. The total amount that we're up is 3.97%. That's from 2023, so nearly 4% up. As you can see in the bottom here, the August USDA export forecast had all of US down by 2.6%. So running a bit better than what the projection was or is year to date, at least in September for the year. And these product groups here, as you can see on the left, several of them are up, dairy being one of the strongest in those cheese, curd, and whey categories, but also wood products, prepared meats, or those sausages, and then aromatics, but a few things are down as well. So the ethanol, we'll talk about that in a bit, as well as meat cuts. So all of those, as we look at the individual countries, and then also the product groups, we'll talk a bit more about those. As we look at by country, our top 10 markets, countries, are 75% of the total. And what's interesting is as you look, those top 4, Canada, Mexico, China, Korea, are all down to 2023. Japan, who's having some challenges due to their economy, is running a little bit behind and having a bit of a struggle. And certainly the high dollar has helped to cause some difficulties for that. But in the case of them overall, at least up to third quarter, and in dairy, they're up. And then really on the strength of the all others category of countries, which speaks to why you want to have a diverse range of markets in your export portfolio. That's helped to keep that number up overall for Wisconsin. As we look at the individual or the broader category groups, dairy, which includes obviously all things that are made from milk, but dairy products specifically, again, mentioning that cheese and curds, and then whey, those are the largest of the major categories that we're shipping. But all of the markets are up practically, and that's been running pretty steady throughout the year and even into last year, and we're up double digits. So if you look at that, all dairy products, and that includes those milk albumins, those protein isolates, lactose syrup. So some of those items that don't show up in that previous dairy number are in this broader category. They're up 24%. So certainly a strong year across the board. And as I mentioned, even Japan, who's otherwise in other products had some struggles, is doing well in dairy products. And we are doing quite a bit of promotion on dairy products, both at trade shows in Europe that are very broad international shows, but as well in Asia Pacific region, as well as in the Americas. So, and bringing folks into Wisconsin for those inbound missions. So all of those things are contributing to or helping to keep those numbers strong. As we look at meat, and when we talk about meat, that category includes not only meat cuts like beef and some pork, but also the prepared meats like sausages. As well, it includes live animals, it includes bovine semen, and it includes as well leather, hides, and fur skins, so mink. All of those are part of that meat category, as well as some of the products from rendering, some of those protein products. So as you see on the meat side, and looking at the chart, the orange bar is 2024, that we're up in Canada, and we're up just a bit in Finland. That's all pretty much the mink product. And then the all others, again, category that I mentioned earlier. So the rest of the countries that aren't part of that top 5 group, they're the ones contributing to that upward climb. And as you see on the list on the left, beef, for example, to Taiwan, triple digits up, as well as turkey, bovine semen, and purebred cattle. They're still rebuilding their herd from foot and mouth disease. And so you see some of that work, and we see that in a few other markets. We noted Kazakhstan. They're not in the top 10. However, they've climbed, as you can see by the numbers here, from less than a million, 674,000 out to 6.3 million. A couple years ago, year before last, they were in for World Dairy Expo. There was a smaller mission of folks, and then we had a larger mission of over 30 people from Central Asia, not just Kazakhstan, but a large group from there as well. They have a budget, they have a need to buy nearly $95 million of live animals for breeding for dairy production, as well as another $5 million for bovine semen. So nearly $100 million of purchase. So we wanted to make sure that Wisconsin was part of that purchase of those products, because they're looking to get those from the US, and we are well positioned to be able to do that. So we don't often see such a close correlation or connection to the efforts that we're doing. But in this case, I think we can look at those groups coming into World Dairy Expo and the engagement, the trade mission outbound that we had, and we can see the results from those. However, overall meat exports are down, and largely driven by those declines in Japan, in Korea, also in China. For Japan and Korea, it is those meat cuts. So as people have challenges in their economies, and as well as a strong dollar, oftentimes some of those discretionary purposes like beef can have a negative effect on the sale of those products, export of those products. And then finally, the largest category, because it contains so many items, is our crop products. And as we can see on the chart to the right, that we had quite a drop in Canada, largely due to ethanol sales in that market. We're not quite sure what the driver of that is, and we'll see how the year ends out for that. But ethanol was probably the main reason, mostly the reason in Canada. Mexico dropped off. China, though, contrary to what we'd seen in other areas and some of the trade tensions we've had with them, they're up in those meat products, or sorry, in those crop products. But it's largely driven by cranberries, as well as ginseng product. That's been challenged just because of the tariffs, the greater than 34% tariffs that are on those products. But we've also been doing quite a bit of promotion work certainly in that region, but also other areas that are in Asia, where they do appreciate and understand what ginseng does for them. And so we are doing a lot of work with the Ginseng Board of Wisconsin in order to help to shore up those exports that are dropping in China. But again, if you look at that all others group, other than the top 5, they really did a strong amount of work to help bring that number up. So that all others group, 23%, and it drives that overall increase of 2% for the crop products. So we're seeing that benefit again of having that diversity of markets in order to export our goods. And then as we see in the list here too, cranberry shows up in a number of places: Netherlands, Australia, United Kingdom, all of those areas purchasing more cranberries than they had before. So again, an important crop for Wisconsin, but interesting to see that China also, as I mentioned before, was up in that. So a couple of the product areas that really came through that we had not necessarily seen in other quarters that we've reviewed on our sales. So we'll actually jump back up into the presentation. I don't know if Dee's been able to join us yet. Not able to see the list of participants easily here. So
I've tried reaching out to her, Mark, and I'm not getting a hold of her right now.
Okay, and sometimes things happen. We haven't seen a message, but she may be joining us here shortly. So why don't I go back up to this, and Eileen, Secretary or Deputy Secretary, sorry, Switzer, or if Secretary Romansky is with us, would you be at a point to be able to talk about the tri-national accord?
It doesn't, so I should have mentioned this earlier in my opening remarks. Secretary Romansky had a prior commitment first thing this morning. He was hoping to join us by this point in the discussion. Unfortunately, I'm guessing the weather might be hindering him a little bit, or traffic. So it's my opportunity to talk to you a little bit about the Tri-National Accord review and the USMCA agreement. So and as many of you may know, Wisconsin has participated in the Tri-National Accords as a member of the National Association of State Departments of Agriculture. And we've been participating in those discussions over the last few years around the USMCA. Canada and Mexico are critical trading partners for Wisconsin. In 2023, Wisconsin export of food, forestry, and agricultural products to both Mexico and Canada totaled about $1.95 billion, or 50% of the total of ag exports for Wisconsin. Over that 10-year period from 2013 to 2023, the average has been about 1.83 billion. So, and as Mark highlighted in his presentation, the top 10 products for Wisconsin are about 79% of that total, and they range from beverages and ethanol, sauces and yeast, prepared vegetables, wood products, prepared cereals, prepared meats, dairy products, oil seeds and soybeans, milling products, and DDGs. So looking ahead to the discussions that are anticipated about the USMCA, we wanted to share with you a little bit about the timeline and then what that means for Wisconsin. So as everyone knows on this call, July of 2020, the USMCA entered into force. October of this year, 2025, the Federal Register notice is expected to be posted for public comment, opening up USMCA for public comment. And a public hearing will be held on whether the U.S. should extend the pact. Good morning, Secretary. Just want to check in on whether or not you want to pick up where I am or how you would like to handle that.
Please continue. Sorry, everybody. I was
No worries.
late joining today, but Eileen, please continue. You're on a roll.
All right. So, October of this year, we expect a public comment period to open, as well as a public hearing on whether the U.S. should extend the pact. And then January of 2026, USTR will report to Congress on issues the U.S. wants to address in the joint review. And then July 1st of 2026, the joint review of the USMCA begins. So understanding this timeline, we wanted to start discussions with the council early this year and look ahead. So our next meeting of the full advisory council is in March 6th. So we're anticipating hosting a discussion at that advisory council focused on Wisconsin ag industry issues, concerns, needs, wants, that we can then share via the national process. So our ask is that you share trade issues and opportunities for Wisconsin ag exports to Canada and Mexico with us, and that'll be coming out from Mark and his team as a request in advance of the March meeting. So I certainly will open it to any questions. And Secretary, if you want to jump on as well.
I'll wait to see if there are any questions. I have a few follow-up comments, but others,
Okay.
please join in, and I will pause until others have a chance to ask.
All right. Go ahead, Secretary.
Okay. Apologies if this may have already been covered before I jumped on, but the obvious interest and value in USMCA is the long-term trade relationships, that long-term and substantial trade relationships we have with our neighboring countries. Canada and Mexico are currently and have been two of our major trade partners for quite a while. So it's important that we continue on with this relationship. Um, and Mark's got numbers on what exactly that relationship means in dollars, but the export of food, forest, and agriculture products to Mexico and Canada, we're talking into the billions of dollars, almost $2 billion. Is that right, Mark?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's a lot of interest in maintaining those connections, and obviously for our state, those are two major trade partners. So back to what Deputy Secretary Switzer said, it's really important that we get your feedback. So as you have opportunity to dig into what may be of interest to you, please do let us know, and we'll talk a little bit more in March.
Great. Thank you, Secretary Romanski, Deputy Secretary Switzer. And adding to that, as you mentioned, we do look to have that as one of our topics on the March 5th full council meeting that we'll be sending out the save the date messages and invites to here shortly. So we're a little bit of a reorganized schedule, and we're getting word that there may be some difficulty with Dee Hale from USDA, so we may need to reschedule the opportunity to hear about that program. I'll just say briefly that like EXIM, Export-Import Bank, like Small Business Administration, USDA does have also a credit guarantee program, and this is credit guarantees for export business. It is largely focused on developing markets, so to differentiate a bit from those other two programs. And the main reason we'd like to talk about it, and it is one of the topics that had come up in our list of those things that the council was interested in hearing about, is that it is a means for you to be able to grow your business, gain more sales, not by discounting a product, taking more of your margin in that way, and sometimes quite a bit more, but to be able to do it by providing credit terms to your customers overseas. Other countries have this available. So rather than requiring cash in advance, rather than having maybe giving someone 30 days when it takes at least that amount of time just for the product to get to them, let alone sell, and then for them to collect on it, that if you're able to offer 90 or 120-day terms, but yet make sure that your finance department is comfortable with the fact that you will get paid for those. And if not, then there is a means to help you in order to get fully paid in that process by utilizing the full faith and credit of the U.S. government. That provides you then on that tool, which a lot of other countries do make available, especially our European competitors, in order to gain that business. And sometimes just because the cost of capital is so high around the world, especially much more so than what it is in the US and Europe, that is actually more of a value to them than a discount on your price. So again, when they're available at USDA, we'll present that information on one of our future meetings, whether it's the one in March or later on. We'll see what their availability is. They also, USDA that is, had presented this at the World Dairy Expo, at our export and import seminars that we've done for the last couple of years, as well as the folks from EXIM Bank and SBA, so that it's an ongoing program that we want to make sure that we help folks understand. And it's not just for those agricultural products, that bovine semen and feed and some of those items on the production side, but also for the finished products. And the last point I'll make is that it's not just for the largest of companies selling, millions of dollar orders for commodity products like grains and all, but it is also available for folks who are shipping container load orders that may be $50,000 to $60,000 shipments. So it is a program that is something that's worthwhile to take a look at and see how it might fit into your strategic approach to selling into different markets. So we've gone over the export highlights. Next point in the agenda now would be the trade promotion activities that we have planned, both DATCAP and WEDC, between now when February through the end of the state fiscal year, June of 2025. So several of these activities are yet coming, and many of them are close enough that we're not available to recruit any more companies, but just some awareness, because these are also activities that often we'll do more regularly. So as we go through the list, coming up early in February, and the USDA trade mission, and just a side note on that, the Wisconsin Initiative for Agricultural Export Funds allow us to be able to do things that we've not really been able to do in the past. And one of those is to participate on the USDA trade missions. And wherever possible, we like to have one of our International Agribusiness Centers team participating, as well as a representative from the Secretary's office, whether that's the Secretary himself, who's been on trade missions to the UK, to just recently into Morocco, and perhaps one more I'm not remembering at the moment, but
Chile,
of course,
and Brazil.
And the Brazil activity. So the opportunity is that when you're with the USDA, which normally we have other states traveling with us, and these are secretaries and commissioners of other states, as well as folks from their export group and companies. This is not just a government mission, but it's largely focused on companies looking to meet their best fit buyers in those markets where they visit. But you get that opportunity to hear briefings on the market from a broad group of folks from the U.S. Embassy. But you're also able to get a quality level of meeting, especially for the government-to-government participants, that is more difficult to do when it's one state traveling. When you have 4, 5, 10 states traveling on one of these missions, along with a high-ranking official from USDA, then you're speaking with ministers of agriculture for the country, ministers of economy for the country, and other high-level officials. And we're able to make the case either to open the market up for trade activities, to reduce barriers for our products, and to promote our products to other markets. So these are beneficial meetings, and we are applying those funds in order to help to do that. Plus, we're supporting our companies who are typically traveling on those missions and meeting with their customers. Going on, and I'll just go quickly through the list, but the Livestock Genetics Export Annual Meeting, that's one of the funding agencies or groups that through the USDA that we receive. They have an annual meeting. They're doing it in Mexico, so they're able to meet some of our customers and do some promotion work, as well as talk about what the strategy is for the coming year, and where we're putting emphasis on products, plus to be able to give our input as to the activities that they're doing, because it is a member organization, and that's companies as well as the different state departments of agriculture that are participants in that. Fur and Fashion Show, again, WIAE funds have helped us to be able to do work in that area. That's for mink as well as for hides. And Asia is one of the major buyers of the products. We're joining, as Secretary Hughes mentioned, a WDC mission to Guadalajara and to Mexico City. I know Aaron will talk a bit about that in just a bit. The Houston Livestock and Rodeo Show, that's a major livestock show. It's for dairy, but also for beef. Great opportunity for our feed and supplements, as well as our genetics companies. The USDA mission to Guatemala, and Assistant Deputy Secretary Striegel will be participating on that one, along with one of our team members. That's an important Central American market for us. Natural Products Show in Anaheim, California. So a food show, but specialized in more health products and some supplements. So a number of Wisconsin companies actually participating in that already. And then we have planned a secretary-led mission to the VIV show. That's an agriculture show all around feed, but also genetics, livestock in Bangkok, Thailand. We'll be doing as well promotion of cheese in that market, as we have been doing in a number of activities. So that's one that the secretary will be able to participate in. We'll see a bit of that trade show, at least the first day of it. One of our team members will stay with the companies and we'll support them, while our other team member, Jennifer Liu, will travel with the secretary to Jakarta, Indonesia. Reason to go there is that there's a U.S. Dairy Export Council has an initiative to help the Indonesian government follow through on promises to help to grow their ability to produce fluid milk, and then as a result would open the market more for both our feeds, our genetic products, as well as our value-added dairy products, which is where we have a lot of strengths in that market, and doing that through providing technical assistance for their industry. So it's a way to show that we're not just going there to sell products, but actually to work with them, which is different from what other countries have in the past been doing with them. So we'll be meeting with government officials and talking with them about that opportunity and where Wisconsin participates in that initiative. The IFE, International Food and Drink Show in London. We've done that show a couple times, learned about it on a trip with Secretary to the UK with the USDA mission, and a number of companies have benefited from participating in that and will continue to do so. That's the UK is, although the tariffs are a bit stiff in the market, there's still opportunities. We have a couple of cheese companies that are working there, and a few other product companies that find that to be an important opportunity market. And then we look at the WEDC mission again to send Shanghai and Shenzhen, China. And one of our team members, Jennifer Liu, will be traveling on that one to see what those opportunities are. And obviously food, forestry, agricultural companies, product exporters are looking to be part of that mission. In April, we participate with the Food Export Association of the Midwest. So one of our, again, funding and cooperator groups, speaking to their strategic plan for the year and the activities that they'll be doing and how we participate on that. Secretary Romansky is on the board of that organization, and it's an important group, has been for many years for us, and they have an important program, the branded program that many companies use to help grow their business overseas, that is in addition to the programs that we offer in Wisconsin, such as the International Market Access Grant. The Anuga Select Show in Brazil, we've done that show before. We'll continue and go back with a few companies there. Still some opportunity for recruitment on that show. Food and Hospitality Show in Singapore, opportunity for companies to join on that. The Siam Livestock and Genetics Feed Show, that's a follow-up to the USDA mission. Secretary was on that one and meeting with our counterparts there. Morocco is similar to Central Asia, similar to other markets globally. They're also looking to improve their local production of fluid milk for their populace. That allows us opportunities for genetics, for feed, other products. Inbound French cheese buyer mission, and that's in collaboration with the Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin. And at the same time, different group, different mission, inbound German dairy producers. So thinking about that, we have French cheese buyers who are interested in US American cheeses. And this follows on the work that we did with Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin at the SIAL show in Paris. And a number of those buyers expressed interest to come after they tried the cheeses and thought that this is something that would be of interest for their markets, even though there's strong tariffs, even though it's Europe, even though it's France, that there is a strong opportunity amongst those folks. We're going to bring them to Wisconsin and show how we make the cheese, the quality of the products, and as a result, we'll see, we believe, some benefits and exports of cheese going the other direction. Since we do buy a fair bit in the US of French and Italian cheeses, I think it's only fair that we ship a few the other direction. And then the Ginseng Summit, And that's actually a number of regulatory folks coming together, both from overseas and in the US. But as a part of that, there's a promotional opportunity for those foreign buyers who will be in Wausau. So we'll be participating in that. And then we've done the Tutto Food show in Milano, in Italy. So we'll bring a few companies that's still open for recruitment, as is the National Restaurant Association show in Chicago. That's a major show. A number of folks exported in that or have exhibited in that. I mean, a number of companies already do. It's quite close to us, but we'll have a Wisconsin pavilion like we do overseas. Purpose of that, again, is to focus on the international buyers. The National Association of State Departments of Agriculture, NASDA, NASDA, has a program called A Taste of the States. So we will be part of that with companies promoting their products and showing those international buyers what we have to offer in something that is just a couple hours drive away from us. And we exhibited also in a show in Miami that focuses more on the Caribbean, Central and South America. Similar program there. So that's we're utilizing our funds to be able to help take advantage of that show that'll be in the Midwest here, which will also bring several international buyers. Interzoom Wood Show in Cologne in May, toward the end of the month. That's again, WIAE funds have helped us to be able to do more work for the wood industry, for those wood products, lumber, timber, and some of the semi-finished wood products, in collaboration with the American Hardwood Export Council, as well as Softwood Export Council. And then as well, the U.S. Meat Export Federation, we're a member of that, and helping us to collaborate with that group in order to get more of our processed meats, our prepared meats, as well as meat cuts into different markets, and utilizing those resources to help some of the companies who are interested to begin exporting but have not yet done so. That's a great resource, similar to what Food Export of the Midwest is, but focused obviously on meat products. So we're continuing to work with that group and provide our input there. Taifek Shoot, the food show again, so back into Bangkok, Thailand. Important market for us, and they also draw from the region, so not just in Thailand. But we've noticed that there's a lot of receptivity to what we've been doing in that market, especially for dairy products. And so we're taking full advantage of their interest in our products. The U.S. Dairy Export Council, and they do this on a regular basis, have a U.S.-Mexico binational conference. And this is bringing government leaders from Mexico to the U.S. In order to have conversations around how we keep the market open, free, and fair, going both directions. And so that's a great opportunity for us, because at the same time, we'll be promoting Wisconsin products, cheese, certainly all the dairy products, and then as well some of the other great products that we have available. We're working with Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin, Wisconsin Cheesemakers Association, as well as the U.S. Dairy Export Council on that event that will be toward the end of May. So it's a great opportunity for us. That'll happen here in Madison, Wisconsin. They'll be touring some of the dairy producers and processors throughout the state. As we get to the last month in the fiscal year, USDA Trade Mission to Lima, Peru, again, talking about the opportunity and the value of working with USDA. Peru is an important South American market. We've not been there as much recently. So it's helpful for us to go back, learn what the opportunities are, and then help to work with a few companies who would be interested in that market to go down. So that certainly is a recruitment opportunity for companies to participate, as is the Food and Hotel Show in Seoul, Korea. Korea is an important market, as you see. That's our fourth largest. So we want to continue to work to bring our products into that market. The Fine Food Show in Auckland, New Zealand. We've not really done much in Auckland. Dairy products are certainly an opportunity, although they produce a bit of dairy, mostly powdered milk, actually. So I think we've got some opportunity for our value-added dairy products there, as well as several others in that market. One of the newer shows, recruiting companies for that. And then we'll round out the year. This normally happens around the end of the fiscal year and into the start of the new fiscal year. And that's the China Dairy Expo. We normally have 5 to 7 companies participating in that. Between ginseng, it's a dairy producer show by and large, so certainly genetics and and feed, but also some other products, finished food products that are, it's a bit broader scope than what you would see in some of the agricultural shows. So it's always been a strong opportunity for us in that market. So we have quite a slate of activities, and here's the bunch that does it. Jennifer Liu, who I've mentioned before, Shirley Acedo, who's been with the team for a bit, Jacob Liam, who just joined us in July of 2024. Amy Kennedy, who's been with us for a couple years now, working to help us with international grants and policy and programming and reporting. Also works on the certificates of free sale for company. And then as well, we are happy to introduce Cassie Miller. Cassie Miller has joined us 13th of January, so brand new with us here, international consultant. Cassie's role with the team, a little bit different than the others, is that she will be focusing on the US trade shows like the ones I mentioned in Chicago, the one that was in Miami, and the show out west. Meeting with those international buyers and helping to coordinate that. She'll also be working with inbound buyer missions, as we've got those planned. You see a number of those on the list. So working to facilitate those and because those are large activities, as big, if not bigger, than our outbound trade missions overseas. And then as well, working with new and emerging exporter development. So helping to bring some of those companies who are just at the point of being ready to export to help bring them along to go from thinking about it to actually doing it. And then as well, certainly working on the recruitment side of bringing companies into our activities and the International Market Access Grant. So great resource to the team. She comes to us from World Dairy Expo. So obviously one of the other things she'll be working with us on will be that major event in October every year. So happy to have Cassie with us, and that rounds out our team, brings us back to the full 4 members plus Amy. And then Grace Clark is our food export of the Midwest. She's our intern. Been great working with her for the past several months of 2024, and then will continue on with us actually until May, when she looks to do some other intern projects. I'll mention here for folks who might know someone who is in a degree program, and that could be associates, bachelor's, even a graduate degree program. If they are interested in this paid intern position, that it provides some great international experience. It's a great resource for us to help and provide some of that information to food export of the Midwest and some of the work that program requires, plus other things that are important to us for food export of food products. So it is a meaningful internship position, and we'll be looking to recruit for that, frankly, beginning now. As we know, Grace will be departing, working with us at least, in May. And so that's when that role would be available. That's a year-on-year program and the funding from that comes from the Food Export of the Midwest organization. So again, anybody who is that you may know who would be interested, would love to know, see their name, get their resume, and we can provide some information on that recruitment for everyone to see. So we'll send that out as that job description out to this group here, so you're able to see what that entails, because again, that's a great resource for us. So with that, we'll move to the next step. Oh, sorry, Secretary Romansky.
Thanks, Mark. I was trying to find the raise hand feature.
Yeah.
But oh well, I'll just do it the old-fashioned way. Thanks for that presentation. A lot to unpack there, everybody. So thank you, Mark, for going through that. I'm glad he ended with the picture of our team there. And well done on the recruiting, Mark. We're always recruiting, so I really appreciate the fact that he covered that. We are always hiring, and for anybody who's interested in a fast-moving, dynamic team to work with, that's a good group. The other thing that I'm glad he ended with that was it's a nice snapshot of our small but mighty team here in the International Agribusiness Center. I apologize for anybody who may have heard me say this before, but they're like oxygen. They're everywhere. And you saw their planned activities between now and the end of the fiscal year, which is a lot. I mean, they are really moving. They're doing a lot of really good things for the state, and we're fortunate to have them all. So it's a resource that not a lot of other states have, or they don't have the number or the level of expertise that we do on our team. So we're very proud of them and really thankful for them. Uh, the other thing I would say is an appreciation for the fact that we also have another tool available to us, and it's the tool that's kind of brought us all together, and that is the funding that we've been receiving from the governor's budget. Appreciate Governor Evers and the legislature continuing to invest in expanding markets around the world. So that funding has allowed our team to do even more, and it's allowed us to engage you all and others in the industry in a really proactive way to try and move Wisconsin food and forestry and agriculture products around the world. So we're really appreciative of that, and we've got another budget cycle coming up, so I can't foreshadow, what could come as a result of legislative discussions. But I find that investment that's been part of the governor's budget has been a really productive thing for Wisconsin ag and food exports. But I again want to thank and appreciate our team because they do a fantastic job of keeping Wisconsin products in front of buyers around the world. So back to you, Mark.
Great, thanks for that. And one of the hallmarks of the Wisconsin Initiative for Agricultural Export is our collaboration with the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation. And certainly the funding that is provided as to support agricultural producers in the Export Tech program, as well as some of the WIAE funds that are for the International Market Access Grant, and to participate and support the agricultural products, food, forestry, and ag product participants on the WEDC trade missions that they're doing around the world that in terms of market and product focus would be beneficial for our companies, the agricultural companies. So with that, I'll turn the mic over virtually to Aaron Zitzelsberger to talk about the WDC trade missions.
Sure. Thanks, Mark. Good morning, everybody. Secretary Romanski, Deputy Secretary Switzer. I think Senator Smith is on, and council members. Fantastic to see you all in the new year, and hopefully you're all staying warm. I really feel like I should just reiterate what Secretary Romanski said. I think Wisconsin really has one of the most amazing international trade ecosystems around, between DATCAP, WEDC, our partners at U.S. Commercial Service, and the DEC and others. I just feel like the resources that Wisconsin companies have is really tremendous, and it's always exciting to engage with all of you and further that mission. So exciting stuff. I'll keep things brief. Secretary Hughes already mentioned quite a bit of what I have to say today, and Mark reiterated quite a bit of our information on our trade mission schedule. WEDC and the GTI team, we've been working on an ongoing basis with DATCAP on partnering on our global trade missions. As Secretary Hughes mentioned, she finished up in November with the trade mission to Australia with the Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin. I think that went really very, very well. We have several additional trade missions, as you can see. That includes our upcoming trade mission to Mexico, both to Guadalajara and to Mexico City. Unfortunately, that trade mission is locked at this point. As you probably all know, our authorized trade representatives always need, about 8 weeks, give or take, to be able to build out those customized B2B schedules. So, but we do have a DATCAP partnership with the Mexico trade mission, and we're very excited about that. Our China trade mission as well. On the end of March, we'll be going to Shanghai and Shenzhen. That's a challenging market for a lot of different reasons right now. I know DATCAP is participating with us. It's the end of March 21st, and so we're creeping up against that deadline right now. what I would say is that if you have companies that are interested in participating, I think we do have a very small window right now where we could still get people on board for this and have and work with the trade reps to build out that schedule. So I would say, nothing after the end of this month, but I think we could still do that up until the end of this month. So if you know somebody, if you are somebody, please let me know, and we can we'll work fast to make that happen. We'll be in Germany the end of March and beginning of April. And I should mention, I should actually just jump back a second and mention that Deputy Secretary Sam Rickers will be on the Mexico trade mission. Both Secretary Hughes will be with us in China. And then because she is glutton for punishment, will then fly from China to Germany and join us there. And I think this is going to be a really tremendous relationship. We have Germany as one of our strongest trade partners, and the state of Hessen in Germany, which we will be celebrating next year, our 50th anniversary with our sister state relationship with them. So there's a lot of work going on in Germany right now. And so the trade mission there will take place the end of March through the beginning of April. It's built primarily around Hannover Messe, the trade show there, but not strictly. So if you are a company that is interested in going, if there's an agriculture company that is food or ag that is interested in being in Germany but not attending Hannover Messe, we can certainly build the schedule outside of that as well. And then we will conclude our trade mission for the year with Canada in April to Vancouver and I want to say Calgary. I believe that's right. And so that'll take place in April, and we are recruiting for that. Plenty of space if you're interested for participating in that as well. Let's see. Yeah, as we've talked about in the past, I think the benefits of not just our trade missions, but DATCAP's trade missions as well. But specifically, I can speak to WEDC. I think our ability to provide companies with that, those customized business-to-business schedules, as well as manage all of the logistical needs for the companies when they are in country, is really something that is tremendous. That allows them to focus on why they're there, which is to do business and increase Wisconsin exports. So I think these are a really exceptional value. I think something companies should really hopefully take advantage of. So. With that, Mark, do you have? Is there an IMAG slide? I forget. Probably not.
Yeah, not this time.
That's all right. I can still talk.
But yeah, if you wanted to speak to that reopening.
Yeah, so Secretary Hughes mentioned this as well. Just wanted to mention that our second window, what we changed, what we went to last year, we used to do one window of applications. We're trying to accelerate our use of the IMAG budget, try to increase the runway that companies have to complete their projects. So we moved that earlier. And what we're more and more applications earlier and earlier is the goal. If we have funding available after that initial window, we can always do a second window, which we did last year. We're going to do that again this year. We did. I think we have a lot of applications in house. That's great. So that what we're planning is working. But we will run a second grant window, which will begin February 1st. That's going to run through March 15th. As Secretary Hughes mentioned, we have 7 WIAE applications in-house in various stages, whether it's application that they're working through, or it might be in underwriting, or it might be contracting, or it might be already contracted and out doing what it's supposed to do. But as we know, we have budget for this, so let's utilize the next 6, 7, 8 weeks to really push more and more applications in. I am always available. Sheila Postler on my team, our grants and fund manager, is certainly available. As we mentioned, I put it in the chat. We have an upcoming IMAG webinar. Please feel free to anybody that you think might be interested in that can attend. We can do another one, and I actually would advocate for that. We can plan that here at WEDC and work with DATCAP if we want to do another one in a few weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and just promote that to food and ag. We can certainly do that as well. But I'm always happy to jump on calls. Sheila's always happy to jump on calls and promote the IMAGs as best we can. Again, important to remember the IMAG applications. The applications to get the applications approved, companies that do IMAGs, during this window will have until the end of the current calendar year to complete their project. So they'll have till December 31st of 2025. So still quite a bit of time. But the sooner we get those applications in-house, the sooner we can review them, the sooner we can turn them over to underwriting, get them to contracting, and get them approved so that the companies can move forward. If companies are looking to go to a trade show or contract with somebody to help them translate their website or help them with a certification of some sort, sometimes those things take time. So we want to try to give them as much runway for that as possible. And then we will, and just I will just conclude by saying we generally will start our new fiscal year applications in July of this year, so that we'll be opening up for another round of applications July 1st. So exciting stuff. We want to try to utilize all of the IMAG budget, both on the WEDC side, which we did last year, and hopefully the WIAE budget as well. So we are here to help and look forward to continuing to partner with DATCAP to work through the WIAE program. So this is the team, as Mark mentioned. We do have an incoming new VP who will be starting on Monday. We will welcome Micah Oje, who comes to us from Johnson Controls, and we're excited to have him. I'm try to bring him in this next time. Sheila, I obviously need to edit this and add her photo. But again, she's our grants manager. She's in charge of the IMAG program and is doing a really tremendous job trying to move those applications through. But otherwise, we have 4 market development directors that we divvy up the world between them. So Rome Router, who handles our European markets, Fanfu, our Asian markets, Francisco, our Latin American markets, and Chad, who has a crazy hodgepodge of the world of Canada, Africa, India, Australia, and they all are really have a lot of specific knowledge to their individual territories. So love our team. They're fantastic. And like the DATCAP team, they are here to help out in every way that they can. So that's what I have. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Aaron. And so I'll just mention quickly the upcoming dates. So we're planning for, and we'll confirm this shortly, but June 18 is our target date for the next WAXC webinar. Then, as I mentioned before, and this would actually be the later WAXC council meeting, should put into that the next one, the full council meeting, is the 5th of March. So looking too far ahead, I guess. So we have the 5th of March is the next council meeting, and then the one following is the 17th of September is the planned date for that. So we'll be sending out shortly that save the date message and a link, as we have before, for the full council meeting on 5th of March. And I have word that Dee Hale is able to join us, and our timing is run pretty much as we expected, which it's always good to see. So we do have time, about 20 minutes or so. We'll save the last 5 minutes just to give everybody a chance if you've got some additional topics that you want us to cover on these informational webinars, but want to also give some time for Dee to be able to talk to us about the GSM 102 program. Dee Hale's been with the USDA's Foreign Agricultural Service since 2008. And during this time, she's worked on agricultural trade policy, market analysis, and she's now with the in marketing the credit programs division. She's worked representing FAS in a myriad of external and internal stakeholders to promote and expand and maintain U.S. agricultural exports in support of the USDA's Foreign Agricultural Service mission. And she's the senior specialist in the global program mission area with the Foreign Agricultural Service in the credit programs. And that office serves as a lead for that GSM 102 program, the Facilities Guarantee Program. So with that, I'll mention too that she's the lead for Africa, Middle East, Turkey, the Caucasus area, Central Asian regions. So with that, Dee, if you're available to join us, there you are. And let's see, I'll stop sharing the screen. And are you able to share? Or do I need to send something your way to allow that?
I believe I'm able to share. So what I'm gonna do then is just pull up my slides and hopefully it'll see my slides. Does it? I think it pulls that up if my slides are the only ones up. Okay.
It's not showing quite yet, so we're.
I can share them. Okay. Well, while I'm waiting to get all of this handled, thank you so much for the kind introduction. It's a pleasure to be here. I know you guys have already had quite a few presentations this morning, so I'm hoping to make this both interesting and useful content for you. If you guys aren't familiar with what FAS is, we are the Foreign Agricultural Service under USDA. And Mark, what might work out better if I just send these over to you, and that way they can come from you, because I think
Okay.
I'm not as familiar with Zoom Government. We are really pushed to use Teams.
All
So
right.
like I said, this is it's a real pleasure for me. My colleague Colin Bradley was going to be the guest speaker today, but I have the pleasure to talk to our friends there in Wisconsin. I think you guys might have sent that polar vortex our way, because everywhere I've been, I had to go take care of my mom over the weekend in Michigan, and we had a blast of snow there and single digit temperatures, which I hadn't remembered what to do with. And then we also, when I returned to Washington, had more or less similar temperatures with just a little less snow. So it's been winter, real winter this year. So once again, it's the Foreign Agricultural Service here in Washington, D.C., although we have offices all over the world. And so what I'll be doing today is, of course, talking to you about the GSM 102 program, but also talking to you about some of the features of FAS inside of USDA that you might find useful as folks who are a part of getting U.S. agricultural exports to the rest of the world, or involved with organizations that are encouraging our farmers, ranchers, producers to get out there and start exporting. So did it come over to you, Mark?
Not quite. Oh, here we go. Took it a
There
bit.
we go. Awesome. Yeah, it does. I hate to say it. Sometimes I joke and I say the machines that we get might be from the back of somebody's truck, and they also may not have warranty by the time we get them here at USDA.
I
So
hear you.
I
All
always
right.
have to be extra patient with the machinery. So that's a little bit about who I am and a little bit about what I do, what we do as an agency. And now I'm going to share once again with you what the GSM 102 program is, how it works, and then, of course, a little bit broadly about the agency itself. Give
Great.
me one second. I did a lot of
And
talking, and now I'm going to.
yeah, now let's see if I can get my screen back here to be able to see
Awesome.
the
And just by a
presentation.
show of hands, if folks can use their emojis, how many folks have had a chance to work with Foreign Ag Service before, or work maybe with, oh, yay, hey, way to go, Randy. That's great to see. Anybody else? You can use an emoji as well if you've had a chance to awesome, awesome. That's fantastic. I'm always happy to see that people have had an opportunity to engage with the agency, because it's our work to do this. Okay, so tools for supporting food and ag exports. We can go on to the next slide. Okay, so for small businesses, a lot of what's going to be really helpful for you, of course, is having that on the ground intelligence. We have overseas offices all over the world, over 90 countries, and some of those are regional offices. Because GSM is focused on developing economies, we do have offices in some of our more developed offices, like in Europe, of course, and Japan as well, Australia. So we have offices there if you're already looking at different opportunities for exports there. But GSM 102 is focused on developing economies. So Latin America, certain parts of Asia, Africa as well, and the Caucasus as well, which is like Eastern Europe. Export finance, that's where my home is, market development opportunities. So we're talking about different programming that we have that helps to cost share using the cooperators. As well as market intelligence, that's reporting for anybody out there who's a commodity head like I am. I used to do beans, corn, and meal in the soybean complex, and is interested in our economic reporting. We do the World Agricultural Supply and Distribution Estimate that's also provided by the World Board, and we also work with the numbers that come in from the ag census. If anybody's had to look at yields and look how much they're going to get from their corn fields or their wheat fields or whatever field you're using, a lot of that information, when it's collected, is also used by us to provide reporting on what we see happening in the world. Next slide. Okay, trade finance, once again, that's my home in global programs. We offer the GSM 102 program, which is to secure commodity-based transactions. And those commodities are basically everything you see in Schedule B. Now, there are limits. And so the limits that you're going to see on these programs are things that are not food, feed, fiber, or animal products. So folks who are interested in sending things like fertilizers or soil enhancements, that's really not our bag. And why? Because our whole mission for the agency is to encourage import of U.S. agricultural exports. And if we're, selling them fertilizer, then they might be growing their own stuff. So we don't necessarily want that to be what we export. But everything else, whether it's the ginseng nuts, hort products, which I know is also a big thing in Wisconsin. You guys aren't just cheese, ginseng, all of those products fall within the Schedule B, and so they would be eligible as the kind of transaction that we could support through GSM 102, as well as the Facilities Guarantee Program. Facilities Guarantees Program is when we're looking to do some of the infrastructure that is not available to distribute effectively U.S. agricultural programs. U.S. agricultural products. So we're talking about silage, we're talking about things like cold storage, and those programs are much bigger. And we most certainly want folks to use FGP because the terms are very good. That's one of the things that differentiates us from others. We are ag specific and our terms are cheaper. So for folks who've worked with XM and are like, well, what's the difference between you guys and XM? We are ag specific, and ordinarily as you're going along, you'll also find that using our program to facilitate your transaction, it's usually a little bit on the cheaper side, but it has very strict guidelines about what kind of transaction we can support. All right, next. Okay, so once again, these are the programs. I also have flyers for you guys. So, guys, I'm sorry, for our audience, I also have flyers so that if you're interested in being able to share this information, I can either put those in the chat or I can put them elsewhere. Credit terms up to 18 months for the GSM 102 program. That becomes important, of course, because you want to ensure that all parts in the transaction are being taken care of, whether it's the U.S. exporter or your importer on the other side. There, the importer has an opportunity to work with that foreign financial institution to ensure that they pay them back. You, on the other hand, because if you're already inside of our GSM 102 program, you will have gotten paid as a result of the letter of credit being requested by our importer. You're like, wow, Dee, that's a lot of information. Can you break it down? Next slide, Will.
Next slide.
Yep. Okay. Oh, really quick. So you ask, where is this eligible? Because I mentioned earlier on, we're looking at more developed areas. So you can see in the blue, all of the areas are eligible destinations. There is a difference between bank eligibility and being eligible to receive products. So some of these folks are eligible to receive products, but they're not bank eligible, which means you won't find a foreign financial institution there that can support the transaction. But that doesn't mean we don't have a myriad of those. We have an entire roster of foreign financial institutions that the importers will work with that cover this span of global coverage, so that there's still a way for them to work through the program for the guarantee to benefit you, basically. Okay, next slide. Okay, so you might think, well, like we're in the third quarter here, how much money is left? The pot is 2.5 billion. That's how much we are allocated by the CCC to facilitate those transactions. As you can see, it's split up by region. So what was announced for each region is in the center column, and what is available is on the far right-hand side. As you can see, Latin America is our biggest place for the use of the program. Africa, Asia, we have a lot less use. A part of that is because going in this moving product in this hemisphere is easier. You don't have the shipping, you don't have that extra shipping time that you have when you're going from West Hem to East. So we don't have as many users going towards the East, whereas we have a lot of users throughout Latin America and the Caribbean as well. But I wanted you guys to see this is how much we're allocated. If folks were thinking, well, we're pretty far along in the fiscal year, are there still allocations left? Yes, there is still money available once, like if you decide to get into the program and sign up and to use it. Next. Okay, program features, I think you saw this earlier on, but it's worth repeating. Of course, it protects the U.S. exporter by ensuring that you get paid. Specifically, a lot of folks out there aren't interested in or maybe skittish about going to developing markets because they fear non-payment. And so because this is letter of credit driven, it's one of the most secure ways to ensure payment. So that importer is going to have to go to his bank and say, hey, I've got a deal with Nancy to send over a container of ginseng, but I want to use a letter of credit to pay Nancy in Wisconsin, right? And so as a result of that foreign financial institution issuing that letter of credit, that letter of credit is passed forward. Now, the exporter can either go ahead and use the letter of credit or assign it to the bank, and the bank will basically cash it out. You get your money really as soon as the transaction and your contract is done. Now, mind you, your contract, you need a firm contract. We can't do anything until you guys have actually reached terms between yourself and the exporter. The other thing is there are institutions, both the foreign financial institution as well as the U.S. institution, have to be vetted, because we don't want you guys dealing with foreign financial institutions that don't have enough hard currency to actually do the deal. So we ensure that there is security on both sides as far as the type of vehicle that's going to pay you, letter of credit, as well as the financial institutions that have to be vetted. So I think that's it. Yep, 98% guarantee to make sure that you get that money back. I've been talking already. Oh, go ahead to the next slide. I've been talking about the folks who are involved in the transaction. Of course, it's the exporter and the importer. You guys come to your firm contract or your so your constituents kind of understand where they fit in. That firm contract, once it's established, then that importer goes and says, well, I've got a firm contract here. I'm ready to import my Wisconsin hort products. I'd like a letter of credit to be issued in favor of my exporter. The U.S. financial institution, now we do require that U.S. exporters do work with vetted financial institutions, because it just makes the whole process more secure. So they are going to be assigned ordinarily that letter of credit, and then they can pay you. So these are the parties that are ordinarily involved in the transaction. And the flow is, it seems a little bit ticky-tack, but We also wanted to show you some of the benefits. The real benefit for the foreign financial institution, of course, is that they get US dollars, which I think you guys are all aware of how hard our currency is right now. That is to say, how desirable our currency is. And then, of course, the US exporter and importer have made their deal. So that's really their benefit. And the benefit, of course, to the US exporter is letter of credit driven. You're insured to be paid. And of course, you start to widen the types of products that you can send to the different marketplaces, widen or open a new market. Next slide. Okay. So we just went through how it works, but I just want to show you this slide as well. I'll be able to share these slides with you. So if I know I'm talking really fast because we only have so much time, and I don't want you guys to not get the benefit of asking questions, but a U.S. exporter establishes a firm sales contract. Importer will get that letter of credit. The U.S. exporter will assign the guarantee to a U.S. bank. All of those institutions have to be amongst the list of vetted financial institutions. The goods get shipped, your hort products, your dairy products, solid milk powder, whatever it is. And then the foreign bank will make payment to the U.S. bank because you've assigned it to the U.S. bank, and the importer pays the foreign bank. You, as a U.S. exporter, or your constituents as U.S. exporters, would have already gotten their money, freeing up capital so that they can go and make yet another transaction or support another export. Next slide. Okay. Whew. So that is all I'm going to share about the GSM 102 program. For folks who have questions, hold on to your questions. We're going to go through the rest of the slides, and then we'll have an opportunity to talk about the program if you have questions about any part of the way the transactions work or any part of the eligible commodities. So market development, some of the other parts of...
So it's finally here.
Ooh,
All right.
okay.
So I got an
That's
open
okay.
mic here. Let me.
Oh, it's okay, no worries. So market development is the other part that we work with. As we noted before, we've got a lot of tools to offer our stakeholders to ensure that they have as much assistance as we can provide from FAS and our team members. So that's ag trade missions. I think a couple of folks have already been on trade missions hosted through the Wisconsin Export Council, but FAS also does trade missions to Morocco. There's one, I think, coming up to Guatemala. So we had another one to Angola. So it's not just some of the markets that you already have a pied à terre in. These are also some markets where you may be looking at, their demographics. You're interested in getting there, but like, how do you start to make those relationships? That's what the trade missions that FAS hosts are also for, opportunities to connect with importers and to get a really good understanding of what those markets are looking for in terms of ag products. Of course, they're USDA endorsed, and there are additional market programs that you'll get a chance to work with through the Cooperator Network. Next slide. Okay. So those trade shows are another part of it for folks who are already in country or folks who want to have their products featured in a USDA endorsed trade show. We have offices, as I noted, all around the world, and we participate in a number of trade shows. And so it's a real good opportunity for US products. Usually it's the larger branded ones. So it'll be like Wisconsin cheese, Wisconsin ginseng, Wisconsin horticultural products. So it'll usually be the larger branded, state branded demonstrations, but there are a lot of specific companies that also decide that they want to have a booth at these trade shows because they see it as an opportunity to help new customers, to help new consumers to be introduced to their products. So, of course, their endorsement is based on the markets. We do all of the market research. We have boots on the ground there to help you. The USA Pavilion you would be showing there. If you haven't had a chance to check out what the USA Pavilion looks like, I was just at the Chicago Trade Show, and it is a really, really nice setup. And it's a really good opportunity to meet those new importers on the ground in the country they're in. Of course, FAS provides participating companies with the marketing and promotion services, so you have help all along the way. Our whole agency mission is to help U.S. exporters to get their products out there and to be able to compete, whether it's helping you with translation, if it's in a francophone country, or if it's in a country where Spanish is a predominant language, down to things like that. You know, we really do want for you guys to have success in those export markets. Next slide. We have a number of upcoming trade shows, as you guys can see. Some of the big ones are, of course, like Gulf Food, FoodX. So if you have an interest in being in a trade show, or you just want more information about what those trade shows, how they work, flag me and I'm happy to provide you with additional information, or at least to put you in contact with our colleagues who specifically work with those food trade shows and food pavilions. Next slide. ATMs, we just talked about those. Once again, it's a really great opportunity to get U.S. exporters abroad, a week long. There's most of the legwork on the ground is done by USDA. FAS, if you're interested in having your own side meetings, you're always welcome to do that. But we ensure that the conference spaces is kind of set up. The inviting local importers. The last one we did was to Morocco, and it wasn't just Morocco. There were also several importers from West African countries who were also there as well. So we try as best to get the best bang for the buck, trying to maximize at all points the interaction that U.S. exporters have with importers on the ground to make those business deals, to get contracts signed. So you, as you know, farmers, ranchers, and producers are first and foremost business persons. And we want to ensure that there's health and success there for your exports, or there is at least more information available to you as you feel out what it is to export. So the Casablanca one passed already, but there's Bangkok coming up in Thailand and also Guatemala City. So there are most certainly still on our books upcoming trade shows. And if you're interested, once again, in those things, flag me and I'm happy to put you in contact with the folks who work on our trade shows, on our ATMs, our agribusiness. I'm used to just calling them ATMs, so ATMs. So that's also a great resource, and it's a great opportunity to expand markets and understand the markets you're interested in going into. Next. Market develop programs, a host of cost sharing programs, so that you can get, so that you're not always completely alone as you're going into these different marketplaces. So the market development programs are available through the cooperators. I mentioned the cooperators before. The cooperators ordinarily work in groups according to commodity. Although there are groups like SESTA, WUSADA, which is like for the Southeast U.S. For the West as well. There's one for East Coast exporters
Exported
and
to
producers.
Midwest and Northeast, yeah.
Yeah.
Way
So
more members than that.
they're regional, so you've got both the regional groups that you can work with. You've also got the commodity specific groups that you can work with. So if it's potatoes, if it's dairy, if it's fruits and veg, there are a myriad of folks that are already laying the groundwork to make it that much easier for your stakeholders to get out there and get their products on shelves, so they can start creating export revenue for themselves as U.S. producers, ranchers, etc. Okay. I hope you guys did see that last one where small businesses can't apply to these funds, but they can get access via the cooperator. So once again, if you have questions about the cooperator network, please ask or put it in the chat, and then I can circle back around and get you answers, because I know it's a lot of information and we'll run out of time. Next slide. Okay, so market development programs, as I mentioned before, these are cost sharing programs. WRAP is the latest and the greatest, and it had phenomenal responses. A lot of folks were applying for WRAP funding for upcoming projects. MAP is a tried and true favorite. We're looking for market access into places where we faced barriers in the past, whether they be trade policy barriers or other kinds of barriers. We're looking to get into new markets. Foreign market development, similarly, it's more focused on the marketing aspect of it, how we can help to bring more awareness to your brands. Emerging markets, as you can see, there's a little bit of a trend here. We do like for folks to try to get into those developing markets, into those markets where there isn't as much of an awareness of all of the bounty of U.S. agricultural products. Quality samples. If you've already had the opportunity to do an ATM and you know for sure you want to send to a particular country and start getting your product, for instance, in a table at a local retail establishment, a grocery store, and you want to be able for them to maybe, do little squares of your product. We have the QSP program that will allow for samples of your product to be sent over so that they can be demonstrated, and so that folks can, if you have a salesperson going over, they'll be able to demonstrate your product while you're there, because a lot of folks say, well, I can talk about my product, but if I can't actually get the product over there for people to taste it or touch it, or understand its qualities, then it doesn't, I can't close the sale there. So we have QSP for that. Technical assistance for specialty crops. All the folks who are working in the different hort crops, this might be of interest for you. And of course, again, specialty crops is one of those places where we heard a lot from our stakeholders wanting more support with regard to wanting more facilitation with getting information out to stakeholders with regard to their products, because specialty crops aren't like your bulk products, aren't like beans, corn, cotton, wheat, and the bulk crops are ordinarily kind of pushed by much larger entities, whereas the specialty crops, you are probably very aware that they may need some additional facilitation to understand how everything works. So next slide. Okay. Branded programs, MAP, and RAPP. Once again, this is cost sharing for like your larger brands like Wisconsin cheese, Idaho potatoes. So we're looking more at that larger cooperator group with regard to the commodity, as opposed to maybe potato chips, specific goods. This is looking at the larger commodity. Same thing with the WRAP program. It's a new program. We still have some WRAP funding, but I'm pretty sure that that program may have wrapped up for, pardon the pun, wrapped up for the year. Next. Okay. Here are the rest of those programs. I know we're running out of time. I'm trying to be mindful of your time here. But here are the rest of the generic products, generic programs that you can also subscribe to if you want or need more information about them. I'm happy to also jump in there and either link you up with the right person, or just make sure that I can provide some additional information from our website on those. Next. Market intelligence, as I said before, we've got a gazillion reports. We have reports on everything from your bulk commodities to what we understand is going to be trending for new products. Folks getting into markets and don't understand the regulatory landscape. Do I need an import permit? What about a license for this particular product? We have a FAIRS report that provides you with that information country by country. There's so much information that we have to share with you. We, as I've said earlier, are really anxious to help our stakeholders to get their product out there. Next slide. So GAIN Network, that's what most of these reports are going to be labeled as. So you can access the GAIN Network from the USDA FAS website, or if you're looking for specific information, you can always just ping me and I'm happy to give you a link if it's an open to the public report. GATS is where you can pull your own data. A lot of folks here already understand how to manipulate data to make pie charts or to understand what a market is looking like, or if you just want to see what the data looks like for any particular country as you're doing your own research for new markets, or if your stakeholders are interested in doing their own research, GATS is fantastic and it is actually really easy to use. We've simplified it recently, so you have pre-made reports, or you can pick your own ingredients and bake your own cake. Next. Okay, global presence, like I said, 90 countries all over the world, regional offices, almost anywhere you can think that you want to send a product, we probably have an office there, or at least a regional office. Next. Overseas officers, we have ATOs and AAOs, agricultural affairs officers, as well as folks who handle things on the technical side, ATOs. So whether your issue is a technical issue, a marketing issue, or an issue that specifically you may be having on the trade policy side, we have offices that handle both sides of the equation, as well as locally trained staff. Once again, if you have a stuck shipment, you don't speak French, you're trying to get your shipment unstuck. We most likely have an officer there that can help you with anything from stuck shipments to helping you once you touch down on the ground and you're visiting a country. So we're here really, really to be your hands-on partner. Next. Yep. State and regional trade groups, I already mentioned those. Next. That's it. Whew. It was a sprint. Just wanted to make sure we got through it all. Because a lot of folks don't know how much FAS does. And I think for me, that's sometimes a place where our stakeholders miss out. There's so much that we can do to provide services and to facilitate and to just be somebody like that's a touch point. You're thinking about entering this market, but you're not quite sure. Reach out to someone in our office. You have a stakeholder that wants to get into, a particular line of product, but they're not sure about the on the ground regulations. Reach out to our office. We are literally here to be your on the ground partner. And if we can't find it, we'll do our best to find someone else who might have the answer. Because at the end of the day, you're why we're here. You're why we do this work. My family is farmers and entrepreneurs. And so, having, those kind of resources, information, statistics, the ability to do the homework on your own if you want to. If we can, help you get to it, that's what we're here for.
Great. Thank you, Dee, and appreciate you being able to join us this morning and to share not only program information on the credit finance, but overall, it was actually one of the requests from the council to get some more information about that. And I like to say, if you're speaking to one of us, you're speaking to all of us. So as they reach out to you, but also they reach out to us frequently to share those resources. So we'll go both directions on that. Absolutely. If you'd send me those flyers, especially in a PDF format, then we'll make sure that gets out to everybody. So as we're going to wrap up the program here, we're a little bit beyond our targeted time, but it's good information we're providing everybody. So just want to say thank you to all for your time, for your commitment in helping us grow Wisconsin agricultural exports globally. So with that, I'll close the meeting out, and we will look to see you all again in March on the 5th for the council meeting. So thank you very much, all.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dee.
Thank you.
How do I make this stop?